The following podcast is non-profit and is based on the IGCSE history curriculum. Hi all, this episode will be about the successes and failures of Nazi economic policies. In the 1930s, the Nazis introduced a number of economic aims and plans. Firstly, Schacht's New Plan, which was put in place between 1934 and 1936, aimed at reducing unemployment and reducing the trade deficit by limiting the number of imports from abroad and encouraging people to buy local goods. It also aimed at increasing the industrial output, the number of raw materials that are produced. The amount the government spends on supporting local industries was also increased, and the government also wished to improve the living standard of the working class. From 1936 to 1939, Goering's four-year plan was introduced and focused on the reduction in unemployment, making Germany an autarky or self-sufficient, and making Germany ready for war by spending more on rearmament. Again, this plan aimed at increasing production and industrial output. However, it was evident that Germany's policy of autarky had failed. Firstly, in 1934 and 1938, imports were higher than exports. Secondly, the government had a higher expenditure than income. And finally, in 1938-1939, their debt was double than that of the income. The Nazis also introduced some general economic policies aimed at big businesses, the middle classes, farmers, and workers. For businesses, the government invested an additional 20 billion German marks into a wide range of industries, increasing production. However, the government began to create more debts. For workers, as the government invested in a wide range of industries, more jobs were needed to fulfill supply demand, so unemployment decreased. This led to wages slowly increasing from 85 to 105 over 6 years. However, due to less imports, the diets of working families became poorer and less diverse as they couldn't afford meat, wheat, bread, dairy, or beer. For farmers, the government encouraged its citizens to buy local produce by increasing tax on imports and making local goods more preferable. However, again due to less imports, the diets of working-class families became poorer and less diverse as they couldn't afford meat, wheat bread, dairy, or beer. Now, let's look at Nazis' economic aims and decide overall whether it was achieved, whether it was not achieved. Firstly, autarky. It was evident that autarky was not achieved, as imports generally fluctuated, but in 1935 and 1938, imports were higher than exports. Now, high industrial production. It was quite clear that industrial production had been achieved, as it doubled between 1932 and 1938. Motor car production increased from 30 to 200. Now, another one of the Nazis' aims was low unemployment, and it was achieved because unemployment fell from around 5 or 6 million in 1933 to around 300,000 in 1938. However, it was not achieved because Jews and women were sacked and not counted in the unemployment statistics. Also, many men were conscripted into the army. Now, low government debt. It was very obvious that this was not achieved by the Nazis because the government had higher expenditure than it did income. In 1938 and 1939, Germany's debt was double their income. Now, the government had also aimed at investing in a wide range of industries. Some evidence that this was achieved was that production had significantly increased over a wide range of products. The government investment in industry had increased from 2 to 22 billion Reichsmarks. However, some evidence that was not achieved was that the government was mostly investing in rearmament and were creating huge debts. The Nazis also aimed at improving wages, and this was improved because workers' wages increased from 85 Reichsmarks in 1932 to 105 Reichsmarks in 1938. However, this was not achieved by the Nazis, as the variation in diets of the working class people was very small, as they couldn't afford to buy dairy, wheat, bread, meat, and beer due to less imports. This is the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening.